on the most iconic rivalries in wrestling history. I'm very excited to dig into this. Stick around if you're new to the channel. Be sure to subscribe. We drop daily wrestling content. Right above me, here's the WWE shop link code. Make sure you go scan that and support this podcast and the WWE and get all the merch that's out there. The new OTC shirt is my next purchase for sure because I love Roman Reigns. Yeah. MVP, how are you? Are you ready to dig into the most iconic rivalries in wrestling history?
I'm good. I'm ready to dig.
I'll let you
dig.
go first.
All right. So this is coming out after a very, very highly anticipated documentary on Netflix comes out. So in that spirit, my number one is Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mr. McMahon. Now, this is the rivalry that the Attitude Era is built off of. You gotta you gotta heal essentially, but he's he's doing what all of us want to do, and that's kick our boss's ass.
Hell yeah.
And this a rivalry of him getting one over on him physically, and then McMahon coming back. Oh, you can't do this. You're fired. I'm gonna screw you, whatever. And then eventually Austin gets his in the end by I'm gonna stunner you and like kick your ass, and you got McMahon lying on the ground most times and like crying and damn you Austin, and it made for great television in a time where the industry was white hot. Austin McMahon is my number one rivalry.
There we go. Speaking of the documentary, me and you talked briefly, but I'm halfway through. I'd love to do a recap of it with you probably next week when I finish it, but
That works.
this just feels like a WWE documentary. It doesn't feel like the Mr. McMahon documentary that like it was made out to be, but it's still good, whatever. But anyway.
Well, it's kind of reminiscent of wrestling with shadows, but we're gonna go off into a whole different tangent. Let's continue.
But anyway, so my number one, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. I mean, these two always found each other in the history of wrestling. Where like, they had their casket match, they had this, rivalry before Shawn took off, but then like the Royal Rumble moments where like they fight off everyone, but they're the last two, they find each other again. Yeah. Like they've had the Hell in a Cell match, like they've done all these things, and then of course the back-to-back greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, in my opinion, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. Which also culminated in the end of Shawn Michaels' career. But Taker and Shawn was just such a great storied rivalry, and there was a lot of good beef in the beginning of that because Shawn was a prick. He says it in the documentary. He was a prick. He was on drugs. He wasn't himself, and and it got better. Their relationship is good now, but yeah, that's a great rivalry. So Shawn Michaels, Undertaker.
Absolutely. Great rivalry. I mean, they had the first Hell in a Cell together, yeah?
Yep.
My number two, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. Now, the Austin McMahon rivalry built the Attitude Era, but the rivalry that just signified the Attitude Era was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. And, they main evented 3 WrestleManias together. I think the last one being the signal of the end of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And each one was pretty spectacular. I mean, the second one, you see McMahon turning on The Rock and siding with Stone Cold, and Stone Cold turning heel for what, like the first time in the Attitude Era.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah, just back and forth. These guys can do it on the mic against each other. They told compelling stories. I mean, so that second WrestleMania main event, it was to the build up they put to that Limp Bizkit song,
Yeah,
My Way. Oh my god!
can't beat it.
I mean, talk about how cinematic that Cody Roman thing was that you haven't uploaded yet, but that was great. Great. It would have been great cinema at the time.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm going Stone Cold versus The Rock. It probably the rivalry that made the most money ever.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that too. Like the video packages for those matches were top tier, and
Oh
um,
yeah,
and now like when you have rivalries, you always have one guy that'll always like jump out of the ring when he gets a cheap shot or whatever. Like these two would just stand their ground at each other. Like there was
yeah.
just it felt like just hatred. Like they can't stand each other, and they just put on bangers. That's a great rivalry. I like that.
And the top two in the business,
Oh yeah, for sure.
and you have a rivalry. It's
My number two is a long-standing rivalry that actually came across brands: WWF, WCW, Ric Flair, and Randy Savage.
Mhm.
I mean, if you talk about in a rivalry, you want people to know we hate each other. Look
Yeah,
no further. Ric Flair and Randy Savage despised each other, it felt like on screen. I don't know if they were friends behind stage or I couldn't tell you. Like I know how wrestling is, but I couldn't tell you that they ever hung out. They look like they genuinely hated each other. And
yeah.
in WCW they had like the Miss Elizabeth going to the Four Horsemen and all that, and they had just great matches. And I'll never forget the it's Slamboree. They had like the Lethal Lottery, and
Mhm.
it's pretty much where you take teams out and put them together, and then you had a tournament. So like Harlem Heat was actually on opposite sides of each other. The Steiners got drafted to different teams, but Ric Flair and Randy Savage got put together, and neither of them would come out during their entrance because they didn't want to get jumped by the other guy. And it was just like little things like that that just carried the feud on. And they had great matches in WWF too. So I definitely think that belongs in here. So Ric Flair and Randy Savage.
One one moment that sticks out to me is when Ric Flair came out with Miss Elizabeth and Woman,
Oh yeah.
and he had the world heavyweight title, the big gold, and he still had the Macho Man nameplate on it.
Uh-huh. He was scared to take it off.
Number three, John Cena versus Randy Orton. Everyone talks about the Attitude Era and that nothing can beat the Attitude Era. Might be true. But we have the next era, the Ruthless Aggression Era. And you have the two standouts of arguably the best class of developmental talent in OVW at the time. And long standing right now. They're still both in the business. I mean, one is halfway out the door, gonna have his last year out. But John Cena and Randy Orton, the two mainstays, the two head guys of the Ruthless Aggression Era, and they're pretty similar trajectories. They come out, they win the titles pretty young. I mean, Randy Orton was with Evolution, and then was able to break out on his own. You got Cena, um, Doctor Thugonomics, and then able to win the big one. And then when they finally come together, they make magic. Their matches were incredible. The stories they were telling, they were pretty compelling stories. And like you said, these two they go their separate ways, and then they come together when you need a big program. And here's to hoping that they get one more program
I
in
want that.
Cena's last tour. Absolutely, I want that too. Randy Orton, John Cena. It's my number three.
I'll never forget in one of their matches, like just little things that really made that rivalry special. Like I believe it was a table match. I'm watching it
Mhm.
live on Raw, and Cena does the attitude adjustment, and I'm like, Cena won through the table, and the referee
Yeah.
raises Randy Orton's hand, and I'm like, he literally just got attitude adjusted through the table. You watch the replay, and on the flip, Randy Orton catches him in the RKO through the
Yeah.
table.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, those little things that just made that rivalry so special.
Yeah.
That and the way Randy Orton was too, that Viper character, just hearing voices, like there was some good matches between those two for sure. My number 3 is going to be an unpopular opinion because some people probably got tired of it. Some people may not agree that it belongs in a top 5. Drop in the comments if you agree with me. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. I mean, like you just said, we need a big match. They go there. They've had two WrestleMania matches. They've headlined SummerSlam. They've headlined all these
Yep.
pay-per-views, and especially the head of the table character, he
Yeah.
didn't back down from Brock. It just felt like just two monsters that were gonna go at each other, and Roman feels like a credible threat. Like he isn't going to be thrown around by Brock. When he is the Hounds of Justice Roman like looking, he kind of got thrown around a lot by Brock. But like that new confidence he had in the head of the table character, I think that feud really got better then. Where like, no, I'm the tribal chief. I don't back down from you. Like,
Yeah.
and the whole like Paul Heyman riding the
Oh
fence
yeah.
with that. Like, is he on Brock's side? Is he on Roman's side? That was all very well done. And anything Paul Heyman touches is gold anyway. But yeah, I think that big match appeal. Talk about hatred. Brock does not like Roman at all. Roman don't like Brock. This got to be on there for me. Brock and
Yeah.
Roman,
Oh,
number 3.
absolutely. There are times during that 4-year stretch where things kind of felt like they were going stale. You know what they did to solve that? They brought back Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. What else are you gonna
And
do? Bring Brock back?
yeah, bring Brock back. That's all you can do. My number 4, I'm going with Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels.
I really wanted that one, but you know what? You can have it. You can have it.
Okay, so this is pre-Attitude Era. Now we're coming past the Hogan era, the era of the Giants, and you got two standouts, or 1 and 1A, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Um, you could always rely on them to have a great program. You keep them apart, have try to build out other people, but down the line, you need something. You got to bring them back together, and they're always going to make magic. Now, their rivalry stems from personal issues that they had with one another, and they let that stuff play out during the Attitude Era, which is pretty genius, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, their rivalry, it should be up there as one of the greatest. I'm going Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, and I mean, even Vince said that like they were taking personal, they were shooting on each other,
Yeah,
and you got Sean saying like, I know you've been having some sunny days in the
sunny
back, like,
days.
and and Vince just said, well, it's good television. Like, what are
Yeah,
you gonna do? Like, it's gonna
it
get ratings.
was.
Like, that's at the end of the day what you want, and they
Mhm.
did that, and Iron Man match, like two of the
Yes,
best going at it for an hour.
boyhood dream comes true.
Yeah. It all culminates how a rivalry should. A guy got screwed over and left the company. Like that's
Yep.
crazy. But yeah, no, yeah, that's always a good. When he did that, I'm like, did he really do that? Is he really going?
Big
Um,
loogie in Vince's face.
yeah, and I'm talking like right there.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 4. when you're talking about the Monday Night Wars, when you're talking about ratings, 1997, the NWO is unstoppable. No one can stop them. They're growing.
Nope.
It feels like it's the end of WCW.
Yeah.
But here comes the dying soul of WCW to come save it. Sting, Crow Sting, no color. The life's been drained to him. He's coming to save the day. Sting versus the whole. I'm not gonna go Sting versus Hogan because that was good, but like Sting versus the NWO as a whole carried that whole '97. And I mean, Pro Wrestling Illustrated had Sting as their most valuable wrestler, like the MVP award of 1997. He carried not every Nitro. You want to see Sting come from the rafters. He's gonna go at the NWO, and it took a year build up. I want Hogan. That's who I want. The head of the snake. I want Hogan. Didn't say it though. He just pointed his bat at him. And just the whole to be able to carry a feud and say nothing is really good. And it just felt like that's one of the rivalries. It's like it's not about hatred. It's really good versus evil. Like we're WCW, we can't let them win. Like I'll save the day. I'll do it. I'll put the weight on my shoulders. I'll take them down. So I think Sting versus NWO definitely belongs in the top 5.
You can't even grasp how big the no words actually was. No words.
Yep. I mean, pointing a bat at Hogan and the crowd erupts. He said nothing.
Said nothing. And then he said, "You have no guts."
Yeah.
And you're a dead man.
Yeah. It's kind of reminiscent to when Triple H and Taker had that stare down, no words. They just look at the Mania sign. Yeah. That's all you needed. Man. That's your Mania match, you know?
You build a feud with no words, you know you got something.
Yep.
All right. My final one. I'm pretty sure no one out there will accept this one as a top 5, but it's my list, and I decided I wanted to go with some more modern flavor. I'm going to go Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. Now, this feud is built on family. This feud is built on respect. I mean, this feud main evented 2 straight WrestleManias in an era where I feel like that's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the last time that happened? Rock Cena?
Yep.
Yeah. Even then, it's like, is that going to be our main event 2 years in a row? But this one had to. Especially when Cody didn't win it the first time. You know, he had to get back there into the main event of WrestleMania. So he does the unthinkable, wins the Royal Rumble again. And the story writes itself. Hey, this is my bloodline. This is my birthright. This is my title. You're nobody. No, my father made you. And I'm going to beat your bloodline. And I'm going to take this title from you because this is my birthright.
Yeah.
And he did. Two phenomenal matches, great stories leading up to the matches. I mean, what more could you want? And you can see the reaction on our channel. Yeah. Nobody was sitting for this match. Everyone, these matches, and then the last for WrestleMania 40 when Cody finally wins the title. It was a big deal. So yeah, I had to put it up there in my top 5. Cody Roman.
I mean, it's good. I mean, look at the main event, like the second match. Everything that happened, like to make it feel like even more of a big deal. Like it was literally like a battle of, we need to get the title back to WWE and get away from the bloodline. Like, every time a bloodline member came out, someone that was important to WWE came out to try to help Cody overcome that. It's a great feud. And I think that there's more of that to come. I think that's a rivalry that's still going to continue and grow. So,
I mean, and then you see Samantha Irvin making the announcement. She's crying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone coming down to the ring. It's the big deal.
I like those moments. Like they did it
Yeah.
for Bret Hart when he beat it wasn't Yokozuna. Who did he beat at WrestleMania 10? He faced Owen. Yeah, he beat Yokozuna. And everyone came out. Luger holds him up. Razor Ramon's in the ring. Like it felt like a big deal, and that's good to see that. You're giving a little modern taste there. I gotta give a little old school taste for the end of mine. I gotta go Hogan versus Savage. You have to. It has to be on the list.
It has to be. It really does.
I mean, the whole build up to the mega powers and imploding or exploding, whichever one you want to do, it means the same. Like they just came to a head and had really great matches. Unfortunately, it started getting into the time where Hogan was kind of fizzling out just a little bit. Like if this would have happened at like Mania 3, like I think that, but that's obviously with Andre the Giant. But if it would have happened like a year sooner, I think it would have been like a crazier, thing. But it still worked out. They had great matches at WrestleMania 3. But those two are two that always come together too. Like whether they're friends, but then like they also don't tolerate shit from each other. Like in the NWO, like Savage has no problem putting Hogan in his place, or at World War III when it's like, I don't care. I should have won that match. Like they'll go at it like brothers, kind of like they're gonna fight to make their point. And it's one of those great rivalries. I love seeing Hogan and Savage in the ring, in the ring. So that's who I got to round up my 5 with. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, absolutely. I have John Cena versus Edge. I got Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes. I got John Cena versus CM Punk. And one that's not written down, but us talking made me think about it. CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, I think of them as more of a modern age Shawn and Bret.
Yeah. Technical wrestlers and such. Yeah.
They come together when you bring them together when you need a feud, keep them far apart, and then you need them, bring them back together. Same thing.
Yep. Yeah. The only one I had that I really wanted to mention was Cena and Punk, just as you did. That's actually a very good feud. Now that I'm thinking about it, like that should be in a top 5. But there's just so many good rivalries that you can only do 5. It's a top 5 for a reason. So if you're watching this long, make sure you drop yours in the comments. Did we miss any that you feel should be switched out? All that good stuff. So appreciate you guys watching. We're over 2,200 subscribers almost here. So we're growing because of you. We really appreciate it. Again, make sure you check out the WWE shop link. It'll be in the description box. And we're going to keep bringing you some of the best top 5s and content. And we'll see you on the next one.